Okay, people, this is Tuesday, the 2nd of February's devotion. We're going to continue talking about what Micah the prophet told people to do. He said, do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. Yesterday, we spoke about doing justly. Let's not do justice, that's overrated. Let's do justly instead. Now remember, we said yesterday that the move from justice to justly happens when we apply grace to justice, and it turns it ever so subtly but very profoundly into doing justly. Now I want to talk about this grace in the context of mercy, because my thesis is this, is that grace is the action, but mercy is the motive. You see, God has a great track record in mercy. I happened to look it up in the concordance, and there are just verse after verse. Lord, I cry out for your mercy. God, give me mercy. And God is merciful to this, that, the next thing. I've got to tell you, people, we have a God who's obsessed with mercy. A God who loves mercy, a God who can't wait to give mercy because it's in his very nature. He doesn't battle with us. He doesn't fight with it like we have to. He doesn't rationalize it, euphemize it, justify it. He gives mercy because he's a merciful God. He just can't help himself. That's why I love the story of Jonah. When Jonah was very upset that God didn't judge the Ninevites, and Jonah had been in there and he had preached to the Ninevites, expecting them to rebel and to reject, but they didn't. They received the message and they repented for their sin. And a great revival overnight broke out in Nineveh. And Jonah was upset over God's mercy. So he sulks, and God says, hey Jonah, why are you sulking? And Jonah says, oh, I didn't think you would show them mercy. You have not done what you said that you would do. You said you would judge them. You said you would have justice over them. And God probably would have smiled and said, I don't think you know how merciful I am. He says, is it not my right to give mercy to whom I want to give mercy? And that's what he did. He gave mercy because he's got a one-track mind, and that is a merciful, merciful mind. It's the theme of God that runs all the way from the Garden of Eden, when men messed up way back in the beginning in Genesis, and we messed up and God came with mercy. First thing what he did was give them some clothing. You could see they were embarrassed. They now needed clothing. And God in his mercy, he could have judged them, but he did justly instead. He applied grace, which is motive, is mercy, and he gave them clothing. So he protected them, and then he came with a plan. He said, guys, I love you this much that even though you've messed up, I have a plan that one day someone will come who will smash Satan's head and his foot will be bruised, but he will win, and my plan will be culminated and finalized that we could be back together again. Isn't that cool? You say, well, why would God give graces? Because God has a motive of mercy all the way through Scripture. You see the theme of mercy through the patriarchs, through the prophets, through the priests, through the kings. You see the trend of God's mercy being seen everywhere. But here's a thought for you. Mercy is something that doesn't bring its own reward. Very often we say, you be merciful to somebody and they'll be merciful back to you. Probably not going to work. Well, in some cases it might, but very often it doesn't. Mercy is not the giver of its own reward. And Jesus would have to be the perfect picture of that. Jesus, the most merciful man who ever walked this earth. A Jesus who gave mercy to gross sinners, to con men, to con artists, to people who had totally messed up and disobeyed the law. Jesus gave grace to them, not justice, but he did justly because he gave mercy. He is a merciful, merciful God. When Jesus left this earth from the cross, he left saying, Father, forgive them, meaning have mercy on them. He didn't leave this planet shaking his fist in their face and saying, oh, all right, I've done this and I've given you the plan and I've fulfilled what God wanted me to do. He didn't do that at all. He went with a motive of kindness at kindness. You know why? Because he just can't help it. I want to read to you as I close beautiful passage in Hebrews chapter 4, verse 14. Therefore, since we have a great high priest who's gone through the heavens, Jesus, the Son of God, let us hold firmly to the faith we profess, for we do not have a high priest who's unable to sympathize with our weaknesses. That was yesterday's devotion. But we have one who's been tempted in every way, just as we are, yet was without sin. Let us then approach the throne of grace with confidence, not with arrogance, not with an overly big ego, but we approach the throne of God's grace, because it's grace that turns justice into justly, so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need. Man, I love that passage. It kind of encapsulates everything that we've been saying for the last couple of days. Maybe I should be quiet and just let the scripture speak for itself. Have a great day, you people.